Hi everyone, we are back at the Schools and Academies show on Teachers Talk Radio, and I've now joined by Melanie Renowden, who is the Chief Executive of the National Institute of Teaching.
Hello.
That's a long-barreled
title. Yes,
title.
Yes.
Yeah,
I know. My name's a bit of a mouthful before you get on to the name of the organisation.
Yeah. Tell me about what you're doing here today at the Schools and Academies show.
Well, I've just been on the main stage actually towards the start of the day, and I wanted to tell teachers who are here about the National Institute of Teaching, because we're a really new organisation, and so lots of people won't have heard about us. And so really, in the short time I had on the stage, I wanted to just pique people's interest and tell them enough to get them just a kind of little bit of understanding about why we've been set up, what we're planning to do, and why we think it's important. And then hopefully they'll come back and find out more as we get working.
Here's a question for you, Melanie. What is the difference between the National Institute of Teaching and the Chartered College of Teaching and other organisations?
Yeah, that's a good question. And the one that I'll fill in the gap for you, because the one that also comes up is the Education Endowment Foundation.
Yes.
What's our relationship with those system organisations? So the first thing I'd say is it's a good question, and it comes up, other people ask it as well. And so we are working really well with those other system organisations. So I'm in regular conversations with Dame Alison Peacock at the Chartered College, and then with Professor Becky Allen at the Education Endowment Foundation. And so as we're building our organisation, we're doing that we're conscious of the other organisations that exist here, and thinking, what do you do well? What do you do well? And where's the space where we can play a role that's complementary to the work that they're doing? So that dialogue's going on all the time. And then what we are set up to do is, as a group of schools, so we've been founded by schools, and we are weaving schools, teachers, leaders through everything that we're doing. So the governance, the organisation, the leadership, the way that we're designing and delivering the work that we're doing, and consultation, and then through delivery as well, through disseminating our work. Being really sensitive to what schools and teachers need. And what we're here to do is to boost the quality of teacher and leader development. And we're doing that through experimentation, innovation, and in driving up quality through direct delivery programs as well. So we think that is an important niche that we can play here, that does complement and build on by Rock for Education. So the sort of original there was a tender that Rock for Education put out, which we responded to, but really the genesis of the National Institute comes from a group of school leaders coming together who already had a lot of experience and track record in delivering teacher development within their schools and then beyond their school boundaries, saying we could be better at this, and it is so important. Like, just when it comes down to it, when it boils down to it, it's all about the teachers. Really, every conversation.
But that's what I was going to ask you. I mean, do you ever not worry that the sort of grassroots at the chalk-faced teacher is sometimes forgotten in conversations, dialogues, even within organisations that are supposed to represent them? So how are you going to make sure that the classroom teacher is always at the forefront of what you do?
So I do worry about that, and I worry about it, and I think it's helpful for me to worry about it in our organisation as well, because just having been set up by group schools doesn't keep you there. Like, of course, as you set up an organisation, you drift further away from the day-to-day realities of schools. So I would need to make decisions. Our organisation needs to have a culture, and we need to make some structural and resourcing decisions that do keep classroom teachers right at the heart and the centre, and keep them really visible and really directing our work as well as hopefully benefiting from it. So if I give you an example of that, of how we're thinking, sort of an example of how we're thinking about it, we have a remit to conduct research, and so we've got within the National Institute we have a sort of research lab. Me investigating in our research function.
Yeah.
And there's like no shortage of questions, like important questions about how we recruit, train, develop, retain teachers and leaders that we could get our teeth into. But we want that agenda to be set in partnership with schools and teachers. So one of the things we're working on at the moment is how we create that sort of participatory agenda setting with teachers, so that they are saying to us, these are the questions that we think that you should be focusing your efforts at, and in this order. Because we've got to start there. Otherwise, if we're sitting in our ivory tower thinking about these things without that dialogue with teachers, the risk is we do what is, I'm sure, brings that understanding forward. If it then has a disconnect with teachers and schools, and they're not able to pick it up and use it and value it and see how it's going to make a difference to their day-to-day, then really it's all for naught. I mean, sort of what's the point of us having thinking about these things, investigating these things, learning more, if it's not then getting out and into practice. So that's an example of how we're trying to think about this, getting your exact point, how do you get teachers' voices into everything they're doing in the institute?
Yeah, brilliant. Final question is, if you're Education Secretary now, what's one thing you would add to the school system, and what's one thing you would take away from the school system?
I needed advance notice of that one. So, ads, I think, it would be really easy to think about money, wouldn't it? And I'm going to try not to do that, because that feels like it's the sort of the easy but impossible answer.
Yeah.
I would add that focus that I just was talking about is all about the teachers. Like ultimately, everything that we're talking about, accountability, curriculum, decisions that go on, all boils down to the people that work in the schools, and particularly the teachers that are in the classrooms. And I think too much in our system, it's actually it's like it doesn't recognise and seems to not be built to tackle that fact. So, for example, the way that decisions are made in schools and in groups of schools, you get this sort of siloing effect going on between decisions about teaching and learning and focus on outcomes for children, and decisions about the people, the teachers, who are actually the people that are going to make a difference and deliver results. So I would add putting teachers at the forefront of every decision that's being made, and when it comes to thinking about spending.
Isn't it mad that we're saying that's something to add when really that should just be the default?
It comes too often further down the list.
Well, it does. Yeah, absolutely.
It's like you've just everything we're talking about is teachers first.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I'd add. I want to take away. Oh gosh. I would cautiously take away some of the constraints, and sometimes this is sort of bureaucracy, which in lots of cases it has sort of come into existence for good reason, that can stop us innovating. So if I think about initial teacher training, for example, and teacher recruitment, I've been working in teacher development, teacher recruitment for 25 years. 1997, I was first working at what was then the teacher training agency in teacher recruitment, and we were having versions of the same conversation about how we identify and get teachers into classrooms and what that recruitment funnel looked like in getting people through the process. And I think there's actually been very little change and innovation in that process. And some of that is because actually we've sort of set systems up that stop that innovation happening. So it's one of the things that we want to do, is we do want to do these sort of targeted, high quality experiments that we can learn from, and then we can think about scaling up and driving innovation so that it really makes a tangible difference. So we're not going around this same cycle every time that the economy picks up, whereby we're having desperate. I do that. Get rid of some of the barriers to innovation.
Brilliant, Melanie. Thanks ever so much for your time. Sorry that was very whistle stop.
That's fine. was fun.